So, if you've ever started a new project in Azure DevOps, you know you're hit with a critical choice right out of the gate: Agile, Scrum, or Basic. It seems like a simple drop down menu, but that one click, it sets the stage for your entire workflow. Today, we're going to break down exactly what these three process templates are so you can make the absolute best choice for your team.
Does this feel familiar? You're in a constant race, trying to ship new features, squash bugs, all while just keeping the lights on. If you're nodding your head, you are definitely not alone. This is the exact problem that modern development methods were invented to solve.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with why we even need to be Agile in the first place. Then we'll get clear on what Agile and Scrum actually are. We'll see how Azure DevOps fits into the picture, take a deep dive into the process templates in Azure Boards, that's the core of it, and then wrap up with some best practices to make sure you succeed. Let's get into it.
First up, the need for agility. This is all about shifting from these super rigid long-term plans to being much more responsive in how we work.
You know, back in the day, a lot of teams used what's called the waterfall model. It's like building something with a really long single set of instructions. You do all the design, then all the coding, then all the testing. And months later, you finally deliver this one massive feature, only to find out the customer wanted something totally different. Agile, on the other hand, is a completely different beast. It's a loop. You take that same big idea, you chop it into small, manageable pieces, and you deliver them in these short 2 or 3 week cycles. You get feedback constantly and adapt as you go. It's a game changer.
Okay, so if Agile is the answer, what does it really mean? Let's untangle the philosophy behind it and the most common framework that brings it to life: Agile and Scrum. See, Agile isn't really a set of rules. It's more of a mindset. It's a philosophy that says, hey, we value collaboration and responding to change more than sticking to a rigid plan. The ultimate goal isn't to perfectly execute a plan we made 6 months ago. It's to deliver real, working software to our users over and over again in these short little cycles. Now, if Agile is the why, Scrum is the how. It's the most popular playbook for actually doing Agile development. It gives you a clear structure with specific roles, like a product owner who is the voice of the customer, and a set of meetings or events that give your team a predictable rhythm. And this is the rhythm of Scrum in action. It's this powerful, repeating cycle. You start with sprint planning, where the team decides what they can deliver. Then you get to work. At the end of the sprint, you have a sprint review to show off what you built. And just as important, a sprint retrospective to talk about how you can get better next time. Then you do it all over again. It's a constant engine for both delivery and improvement. So we've got the philosophy and we've got the framework. But ideas are one thing. How do we actually bring them to life? Well, that's where our toolkit comes in: Azure DevOps. The best way to think about Azure DevOps is as the command center for your entire software project. It's not just one tool. It's this whole collection of services from Microsoft that's designed to handle everything from that first glimmer of an idea all the way through to deploying your code. And yeah, it's got the whole shebang. You've got repos for your code, pipelines to automate your builds and deployments, test plans, the works. But for our focus today, we're really going to zero in on Azure Boards. That's the heart of project management in Azure DevOps. Okay, let's get into the main event. How do we actually use Azure Boards to map our team's way of working? This is where those processes come into play. First things first, you have to understand this hierarchy. Think of it this way. An epic is your huge, ambitious goal, like launch a new mobile app. A feature is a big piece of that, like user authentication. Then a user story gets more specific. As a user, I want to log in with my email. And finally, a task is the nitty-gritty work: build the login button. This structure is how you take a massive idea and break it into bite-sized, doable chunks. Now, pay attention, because this is a huge aha moment for a lot of people. Azure DevOps sometimes uses different words for concepts you already know. The most common one, what you call a sprint in Scrum, is called an iteration in Azure DevOps. A story might be a user story or a product backlog item. Knowing this translation is the key to mapping your process into the tool. It's the same job, just a different label on the box. So this brings us to the crucial point. How does Azure DevOps handle all these different ways of working? It does it with something called process templates. A process template is basically a pre-built starter kit that defines the types of work items and the workflow your team is going to use. And here they are, the big three. Let's break this down. Basic is exactly what it sounds like: super simple. You get epics, issues, and tasks. That's it.
It's perfect for a small team that just wants to track work without a lot of overhead. Next is the Agile template. This one adds features and user stories. It's great for teams that are agile. Maybe they use something like Kanban, but they don't follow all the strict rules of Scrum. Finally, you've got the Scrum template. This is the most structured one. It uses product backlog items, or PBIs, instead of user stories, and it's built for teams that live and breathe the Scrum framework. The right choice here really depends on how disciplined and formal your team wants to be.
Choosing a template is just step one. To really make it sing, you have to use it well. So let's run through a few key best practices, straight from Microsoft's own playbook, to make sure your process actually works for you. This first one is huge. Instead of having a front-end team and a back-end team that are always waiting on each other, you create teams around value streams. That means a single team has all the skills, front-end, back-end, testing, whatever, to take a feature from an idea all the way to production, all by themselves. That kind of autonomy is a massive speed boost. Next up, stop keeping your roadmap in a separate PowerPoint deck that's always out of date. Your features backlog in Azure Boards is your roadmap. It's a living, breathing document that shows everyone exactly where the product is headed. The trick is to keep it prioritized and make sure each feature is broken down into smaller pieces the team can actually finish in one iteration. And finally, you have to embrace the rhythm of the iteration. It's not just about the planning meeting at the beginning. The real secret sauce is the daily discipline. Every single day, people need to update the status of their work. Why? Because that's what feeds the data to your burn down charts and makes them accurate. Without that daily update, all those cool progress charts are basically useless. At the end of the day, the real power of Azure DevOps is having everything in one place. Just like this quote says, it's a centralized solution. Your plans, your code, your build pipelines, it all lives together. And that makes the entire development lifecycle so much smoother. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Take a good, honest look at how your team is working right now. Is your process a tool that's actually helping you succeed? Or is it a roadblock just getting in your way? Choosing the right process template in Azure DevOps isn't just an